rev up your engines. Today I'm going to answer Joey Bosco's question: how many computers do modern cars actually have inside them? Modern cars have more and more microprocessors in them because of computerized designs and manufacturing processes. Now, the average car these days can have at least 50 different microprocessors inside the car, while a Tesla Model S has 62 microprocessors, and a Mercedes S-Class, I guess it's something with S, has over 100 different microprocessors on one single car. Now, of course, when I was a young mechanic, they had 0 microprocessors. The first ones were the early 1970s when they went to electronic ignition. Then they had ignition control modules, and so you had electronic computer-controlled ignition in the car. Back in those days, everybody referred to them as the black boxes, and if something went wrong with a car, the mechanics would cringe and say, "Oh, maybe it's something wrong with a black box. We don't know how to check that out." I remember one of my father's customers at the gas station when I was a young mechanic had a Ford, and it had the new electronic ignition, and the thing would die every once in a while. And they take it to the dealer, it wouldn't die, and they said, "Oh, we don't know what's wrong with it. You're just going to have to leave it here for whatever amount of time it takes for us to figure out what's breaking down." They were starting to have problems with the little black box, the little ignition control module assembly that was breaking down. So I told my father, let's just get one of those and put it in. And yes, back in those days, it was just an educated guess on my behalf, but yeah, it fixed the car and it never stopped dying. The customer was real happy. But you can't just guess on a modern car. Let's say you got 50 of these different things. How are you gonna know which one of the 50 is breaking down, you know? Odds are only 1 out of 50 that you're gonna guess right on that one. That's where mechanics like myself have to have all these fancy computers to analyze all of those fancy computers to see what's going down when some of these computer modules start to break down. So you might well ask, why are they putting all these computers on cars? Well, one of the reasons is because they can, and of course they can charge a small fortune fixing them, because hardly anybody's going to be able to fix it. Even at the dealer, they have problems with it. But a lot of it has to do with ease of production. Costs them less money to produce it, because in the old days, if you had one main processor and it ran everything in the car, that processor had to have a wire going to every single thing that it was operating. And with the proliferation of electronic stuff on our modern cars, that would be an electronics nightmare. There would be wires going everywhere, miles and miles and miles of wires. So instead, they put in small processors so they can actually independently operate things, and all these processors can act independently when they need to. They can get information from a main processor, yes, but since there's so many of them in different areas, things can react faster, like safety devices, anti-lock brakes, traction control, all that stuff, because they're based on what's called computer bus line. You have, instead of billions of wires, you have a main bus line that a lot of information goes back and forth on. Just like, say, in an area like I am that has fiber optic cable going to the house. You got different movies streaming, phone lines, computer, everything running on one line. They can run at various different speeds and frequencies so they don't get messed up with each other. But of course, this leads to one super big problem if your car is wrecked or flooded. Got all these microprocessors all over the place. If one of them shorts out, then when I plug my fancy scan tool in to see what's wrong, a lot of times it will do no communication. It'll say no communication with bus. And that doesn't mean that you're not talking to the bus going down the street. It means that the system has shut down its information sharing, and you got to figure out what shut it down. Let's say you got a Mercedes S-Class and there's over 100 of these microprocessors. You got to figure out which one of them is shorting the thing out. And it can be a doozer trying to figure that out. If you have a simpler car that only has 50 different microprocessors, that's still a lot of searching to figure out what's wrong with a car. Now, years ago, it wasn't quite as bad. Let's say a car had 5 microprocessors on it. Well, all you'd have to do was unplug them one at a time. And if you got to the bad one when you unplugged it, then all of a sudden your machine wouldn't say no communication, it would start communicating. And you'd know that there was a problem in that system that you just unplugged. But when there's 50 of them or more in a car, good luck on that strategy, because some of these sensors, hey, they're inside the gas tank, and the only way you can get to them is by dropping the gas tank. What are you going to do, take the whole car apart and then unplug things one at a time? It gets complicated in a modern car. And this has led to probably the biggest problem in car repair today. There is a real lack of qualified technicians to work on modern cars, because sadly but truly, many places are paying the mechanics less and less so that the owners make more profit. They're getting a lower quality of mechanics because, hey, why should somebody go to school for 2 or 3 years, buy thousands and thousands of dollars worth of tool to make a job that doesn't really pay all that much? And as the cars get more and more complex, you need better and better mechanics, not guys that are like, oh, well, that's a crappy job, maybe I'll try it for a while and then try something else. And I read in a lot of these mechanic trade magazines, oh, we need to train the mechanics better and this and that, but really, they never get to the root problem. If you're not going to pay them enough, you're not going to be able to lure people in to do all that hard work if they're not going to be rewarded. Because if you keep making cars more and more complicated, yet don't reward the mechanics who have to figure that stuff out, you're going to have a real stinker of a problem where cars are going to break and nobody's going to be able to fix them en masse. I personally see that all the time. I have customers that'll bring me a car and they'll say, oh, Scott, I'm having this problem. I'll say, look, your car's under warranty. Take it into the dealer and get it fixed free. And they say, you know, I took it into the dealer 5 times and they never fixed the thing. I don't care. I'll pay you to fix it. So really, that's not a good system. They want to make them more complex. They're going to have to start paying the mechanics who fix them more, or they're going to have a bunch of cars that never get fixed right. Because let's face it, cars are a major investment. It's not like you're buying a cell phone and then if it breaks after a year or two, you say, oh heck, you throw it away and buy another one. You really don't want to do that with your cars. Now, of course, there's a lot of stuff that you can live with as a car ages. If it's your entertainment system and it breaks down, heck, you could just use your phone and get one of those little portable speaker systems that sound great and use that for your music system. If a power window breaks in the back and you don't really need to use it, you can just stop using it. But when it comes to the actual running of the car, all those microprocessors have to work perfectly or you can't drive the car. Because you have to realize in a modern car, you turn the key, you think the ignition switch is taking battery power and then send it to the starter? You got another thing coming. They don't work that way anymore. When you turn the key in most modern cars, it's not 12 volts from the battery. It'll be a 5-volt reference signal a lot of times. Then that goes to various microprocessors and they check to make sure everything is as it's supposed to be. Then the computer decides, okay, now we're going to send electricity, and it sends 5 volts out to a relay. Then the relay bumps that up to 12 volts, which goes to the starter to engage on the engine and turn the engine over. And sure, it's cool that you can have a remote that if you live up north, point it out the window, start the car up so it warms up in the driveway for you so you don't have to go outside. But there's a price to be paid for all this microprocessor stuff. And of course, that's when they do break down, they can be a monster to repair. Now you have to realize, at least in the United States, these things are here to stay, because the only way modern cars can get the gas mileage that they get, have the power that they have, is through using all these computers to control everything. Electronic power steering, electronic air conditioning systems in cars, electronically activated automatic transmissions. They all require these microprocessors in order to work correctly. So, of course, now cars are just loaded with these things, which is one big reason that you never, ever want to drive a modern car through any type of flood water. Rains a lot here in Houston, if you watch the news. I've had many customers do that. And even though the car drove through the water and did survive, and they're driving it around, sometimes weeks, sometimes months, sometimes even a year or two later, the electronics start to go totally haywire. Because most of these microprocessors, hey, they're working on a tiny 5-volt reference signal, not much power, and only milliamps of power, thousands of an amp of power. So any little corrosion that gets built up from water getting in and starting to corrode the connectors, or somehow getting past the seals and getting into the electronics, will eventually destroy them. And then figuring out what went wrong can be almost an impossible task. I mean, if a car was wrecked, that's the first thing I ask the customer. Has your car ever been wrecked? When they have a weird problem, they'll say, yeah, the right front was crushed in. So then I start checking all the wiring and microprocessors that are on the right front end of the car. But if it was flooded, who knows where to start analyzing it then? Modern cars can have from 50 to over 100 separate microprocessors in them. You're driving a mobile computer. Well, multiple computers when you're going down the road in any modern car. And since this is the Thursday segment where I answer a viewer's question, place your own question on the YouTube comments below, and I'll pick the best ones to make a single video to answer your questions. So where else can you find a guy with 50 years experience of fixing cars to answer your own question with a video? So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.